Because today is National Unplug Day. It's a day dedicated to digital wellness.
And you're encouraged, of course, to do pretty much that. Step away from those devices and reconnect with actual people in the real world. So joining us now to share how important all of that is and how important it is to detox from our devices, we have Mark Ostash and Haj here with us this morning. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
So let's start with, where did this idea come from about National Unplug Day?
So we'll start with Mark. We'll let Mark
So
sit down.
as we all know,
Yeah.
we live in a smartphone generation, and our digital wellness has become just as important as our financial wellness and physical wellness. So Global Unplug Day or National Unplug Day is just a day to raise your awareness of the digital calories you consume on the screens you view.
Digital calories.
Digital calories.
Did you coin that?
I did not.
It's not bad. I
But
kinda
it's
like
the
it.
same way like when you wake up and you think, what am I going to eat for breakfast? You want to make sure you're eating a healthy balance of food. You want to do the same thing with your digital calories.
And I think one of the hard things is, at least in our business, Sandra can agree to this, I mean, we have to be on our phones 24/7. I'm sure you gentlemen at least maybe feel like you do too. Haj, how can you maybe just clock out for a second and put that phone away?
I think it's a real challenge, and I think because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that has really engineered connecting dopamines and satisfaction to being online and being connected. And so when you live in a culture where we're always on and always connected, it's very difficult to do that. One thing that we talk about is this concept of super fake. And what I try to think about, you know, at least as a modern athlete, is how do I devalue a lot of things that I see because it's not real, and really try to put more value on personal experiences and interacting in a more analog space. Now, it's a challenge. It's a true challenge, but I really try to think through that lens because we're being inundated with over 10,000 brand impressions every single day. It's a challenge that we all deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge for sure. I feel like that's an understatement in the world we're living in now, right? So, you know, obviously a day like today brings attention to how do we do this. So what are some practical tips? I know, like, for me, for example,
Yes.
once I have all the kids in one place and I know everyone's safe and home and under the one roof, then I can put the phone away.
Yes.
But how do we do that on a day like today and kind of input those steps?
I think it's about baby steps, and whether you have kids or pets or animals, it's about raising your awareness of the time offline. So we talked about movement right before the segment here today because we both run and we both like to prioritize movement. And I like to teach people what's called a turn down technique. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to turn down the volume of being overwhelmed. So turn down techniques are fast, flexible, easy, fun, and free. You don't need a gym membership or an Amazon Prime account. You just need to move your bodies. So for as much time as we spend on our screens, which is just stagnant time, we need to move our minds.
With that in mind, technology is good too.
It
Obviously,
is.
there's priorities. So when would be the good time to make sure you stay locked into the phone? When to use the technology for good rather than endlessly scroll, for example?
Yeah, it is a tool and it is a temptation. I like to say people refer to PTSD, post-traumatic scroll disorder, when you're digesting headlines or harmful things that are making you feel emotionally disruptive. So when it's work time, be all in at work. Do your emails, do your things. When you wake up in the morning, for instance, don't just start doom scrolling before you've gotten out of bed and brushed your teeth. Spend some time, that sacred space in the morning where you're grounding yourself with your animals, your kids, your coffee, your devotionals, whatever your routine is, honor that before you honor your work commitments.
And what about limiting screen time at night? We've heard a lot
Yes.
about this, I feel like, especially in the last couple of months in terms of the connection to mental health. What do you tell folks to do about that?
I say 1 hour before bedtime, start to land the plane before you get into bed. It's like easing into the runway of your mind. So no screens, just try to get into some sort of, you know, we could talk to each other before bedtime. We could write
I'm calling
down
Mark.
and be
Right.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Just try to end your digital day 1 hour before bed, and you'll find you ease into the bedtime routine better. You sleep better. You feel better in the morning. Those sorts of things.
You know, and I'm so curious because you're both so well versed in this. What do you do for just, you know, give us a little bit of your routine in terms of when it comes to limiting screen time?
So that's a great question. So I like to say, let's start out by commanding the first hour of the day. So the first temptation is to pick up the phone.
Always.
Yes.
All right. And so what happens is that we begin to chase other people's dreams, other people's
Yes.
opinion. And so I say, okay, if I can command that first hour, what I'm actually doing is I'm buying time back.
Yeah.
So instead of investing in somebody else's ideas, I'm more inwardly focused in terms of investing in myself. And so starting out doing that, I found that to be super important. And so I really started to try to do that. There's a great quote that comes from Morgan Housel, and he wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. And he talks about comparison. And what he talks about is comparing other people who are running a different race to a different set of rules. And so what happens is that I try to do this so that I can be more locked into what it is that I'm doing. Successful people have very defined, I guess, you know what I'm saying, like routines. And so I try to do that so I can at least start my day off the right way.
Okay.
Great
Mark,
advice.
before we let you go, yeah, one more thing for
Yeah,
us?
I would just say that sacred space in the morning and in the evenings is the most powerful place to root yourself in your identity and your calling, and then walk it out throughout the days amongst all your digital demands.
Okay.
And I will share that there's a 3-day challenge that people can take to find freedom in their digital day. It's easy, it's free, and it's a great way to learn the things we're talking about with sacred space and screen separation. And making sure we're making time for human connection like we did this morning.
So important.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mark
so
and Hodge
much.
again today, National Unplug Day. So if you don't need the phone, you're working on digital wellness, that's what you need to do.